Hello, this afternoon I'm meeting with Kristin Crane, who's with the Huron County Department of Economic Development. And pleased to have you with us, Kristin.
Thanks, Wayne. It's nice to be here with you.
And of course, our topic is to look at healthy rural communities from the perspective of immigration and what that means in the context of a welcoming community. So maybe, Kristin, if you wouldn't mind just telling me a little bit more about yourself for the benefit and interest of the students, and then to say what brought you to have an interest in immigration and immigration policy.
Sure. Well, my name is Kristin Crane. I am from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan originally, and have been in Ontario for 4.5 years now. In my past, I volunteered in newcomer settlement area, doing either volunteer ESL classes or working with international students at the university, and also volunteering through the National Host Program, where you do direct matches with people that have recently come to Canada and helping them settle in. And then for my professional experience, I worked in program and project management. And when I came to Ontario, started my career again and found myself in Goderich, Ontario, I wasn't sure that I would be able to bring some of those same volunteer interests together here, but I was quite lucky in that this position became available within the County of Huron to support the local immigration partnership project. So that was a really excellent opportunity to bring together my personal interests and my professional background to carry this program forward, which is bringing different service providers and community stakeholders together to build welcoming communities, build the capacity and the support network that surrounds immigrants and refugees, and obviously within economic development, all of it's leading towards building stronger, more economically viable communities. And we're in a rural setting, so it all comes together quite nicely.
It's really interesting that your background and experience, both from a volunteer capacity, has been able to merge with your professional interest. And I think it speaks in large part to the notion of welcoming communities, in the sense it is about reaching out to people, and it's not all about people that are working in the area, but also people that are doing volunteer work, isn't it?
It is, yeah, especially in a rural community where there's fewer formal networks and fewer formal organizations, and you really rely a lot more on the volunteer sector to just carry things forward. So certainly here, the people that are oftentimes most actively involved with welcoming immigrants and newcomers, it tends to be the volunteer sector, quite heavily drawing upon the different faith communities and just their outreach networks that extends beyond the church groups. Those have been some of the most active players here in directly settling and welcoming newcomers.
It's really, I think it's also interesting that the county, and of course I have a background in Huron County as well, but the county has been willing to make that investment in terms of committing staff resources, trying to pursue the whole coalition of attraction, retention, and welcoming as well.
Yeah, I think it's continues to gain momentum here from within the county leadership and also from the political leadership, that people are seeing it as becoming more and more of just the strategy moving forward, that we need to be welcoming and retaining newcomers into our region. And you just see the interest and the support growing each half year to a year. There's more people wanting to get involved, or it's on their radar and they're wondering, how do we support this? How do we make this move forward?
It's interesting. When I was a child, born and raised in Huron County, the population of the county, I think, was 60,000, and the population today is about 59,500, somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah, it's pretty flat.
Pretty flat. And if we look at the aging demographic in terms of the baby boom population, there's of course a vested interest in the part of the county to try to address this issue, because in the advance of attracting people, it's probably population decline.
Certainly. From a workforce perspective, when you do look at the statistical breakdown of our age groups of our population, there are a high number of people that would be entering probably retirement age in 5 to 10 years. Yes. So, like even that's a greater strain on the workforce, in addition to just our general population base. We tend to lose a certain number of people in that kind of younger category of post-high school age up until, and older. They're leaving our area to pursue educational or career opportunities. Sometimes they return, sometimes they don't. It's all putting a strain here. And then we're seeing an increasing number of the older population moving into the area because this is seen as an ideal place to retire or sometimes take on a second career, but transition to part-time employment. So that's, again, putting a burden on the services that are available here without adding to the workforce. So it's just a compounding issue that we're facing here.
So what are some of the things that the county has been doing to attract and retain and welcome newcomers to the area?
Well, we created approximately a year ago a full strategy called the Workforce Attraction and Retention Strategy. And that's looking at different components of what we would need to do in a big picture view to bring more people to the county, with a big focus on people that are new to Canada. However, it could be inclusive of people that are new to our region. Knowing that part of it is a public awareness piece. So the general population here isn't aware of all of these workforce issues, and just that's the number one challenge that we're dealing with right now, is that there's not enough workers to fill the jobs that are available, in addition to an aging population or retiring population. So building that public awareness piece around it, and then getting the message out that while we'll welcome anybody who wants to enter our workforce, we are putting an emphasis on people that are new to Canada, because we see an opportunity here to add to the vitality and diversity and just the intrinsic value of new perspectives and values, and diversification is a good thing for our area. Then there's also the accompanying pieces of helping the employers. So how can we help them implement new strategies, gain new connections to be able to do this, to attract people to these positions, or more widely advertise the positions that they have available and promote our region. And once the people are in those positions, how we can help them to retain those new employees that are new to Canada as well. And just the whole settlement piece, that with a greater, longer looking perspective, that people may have come here, found employment, but we will see an out-migration unless people can integrate into the community well. So bringing them into our social networks. We have great partners with other groups, and even things such as the libraries and community organizations, those people already operating here to carry out some of those mandates. So it's not that we are doing all of this exclusively as a department, but it's working with those community partners.
Right.
And a big piece of that too is looking longer range, saying we need housing to support all of this too, because that's one of the barriers, in addition to transportation, that often come up.
It is interesting with sort of a flat population. Folks might not appreciate nor understand, even within the community and external to the community, there's all kinds of positions available. It's just that people tend not to be attracted to rural areas, whether it be Huron County or whether it be Saskatchewan.
And we often say that people aren't attracted to it, but I sometimes think it's just that awareness piece. People don't know what they don't know. It's quite easy to come into a large urban area and have all the services and amenities that you need, and there's no necessity to travel any further. Sometimes it's not until you're seeking different recreational opportunities that you might leave your city core, and then you get exposure to some of the areas outside the city. But we want to try and bring that awareness earlier on into people's settlement in Canada, before they're establishing really strong roots, maybe before they've found that career or purchased a home, when they're kind of in that intermittent period of establishing themselves, to bring rural areas to their awareness and let them know of the opportunities that are here.
What would you say are some of your successes, or some of the county's successes in this area?
County successes have been really, I think, building a deeper connection with employers. I would say in this sort of 1 year into our workforce attraction and retention strategy, we've developed a good relationship with a large number of employers. And then through that relationship have connected them to other organizations and services that are available, whether it's in the county or outside of the county in some of the neighboring urban areas, to kind of communicate what opportunities that they have and connect those opportunities to people. We found that a lot of people were still conducting their hiring process the way they had been for the past decades, and it had worked well for them, but it wasn't really working well in this new context where the unemployment rate is so low and everybody is looking for a workforce and kind of competing with each other. We wanted to minimize that. It's not successful if one employer is taking employees from another employer and then they're left searching. We wanted to broaden the pool that people are pulling from and create a general collaborative spirit amongst employers. Not saying that it didn't exist, but trying to build that relationship with each other to learn from each other's best practices. And I like to say when we're having an employer roundtable or something that we don't have to be in competition with each other. We can build off of our strengths and advertise our opportunities regionally, and there's more than enough people to go around. If we're looking at this newcomer base of people, there's thousands of people that are coming into London area alone that could fill our workforce need. It's just a matter of connecting the appropriate people to the skills and positions that we have available. But there's more than enough people, and oftentimes they're unemployed or underemployed. So let's just connect you to those people. And there have been some good connections that are made, particularly through settlement organizations, employment organizations in the county and in some of the urban areas.
Yeah, sometimes just making people aware of the opportunities that exist, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
So if we have a goal of welcoming communities, how will you know when we've got there?
Oh, well, there's different...
Or will we ever get there? I mean, is it just an ongoing thing?
Yeah, I think it's ongoing. There's a variety of studies, or OMAFRA has done different things to characteristics of welcoming communities, and important research there that I think are good indicators of if you're achieving a welcoming state. But I think because it's based upon human interactions and people, it's something that's always fluid. It will fluctuate. Yeah. How you know if you're getting there? I think it's gathering people's opinions. It's those conversations that are happening informally. Places like the libraries, I think, are doing a good job of capturing those conversations, or sometimes documenting those conversations. See what people truly feel about their community, and making sure that you are getting a broad number of perspectives too, because if it's only one certain group of people saying we feel that we're welcoming, but you're not getting the opinions of those people that are new to the community as well, then it's not an accurate picture of it. So, particularly with the immigration partnership, we are really interested in this, how we become a welcoming community or increase our welcoming factor, and how we measure it. And it does come down to opinions. And I find that if somebody knew concretely how to measure it, or other ideas, I'd certainly be open to hearing what those are too. But,
yeah. Thank you for that. And this is perhaps my second to last question. The course title is Healthy Rural and Small Town Communities. And within the course, there will be master students in rural planning and development, and master students in public health. Maybe others too, but those two groups for sure. So what would you say is the connection between a healthy rural and small town community and a welcoming community / immigration receptive community?
Well, health and well-being, I think, factors into all facets of life, and whether it's somebody that's new to the community or somebody that's lived there their whole life, there's the difference would probably be very, very minor. I think it comes down to knowledge of what's available and participation and access to the resources that are available. So to me, a healthy community is people that are engaged and connected to one another. And there's lots of opportunities for that, and using technology to, I think, increase that in rural communities. And I think health and well-being, more and more people are realizing it's not just your physical state of health, it's your mental health too. And in rural areas, in particular for more vulnerable populations, I think it's the mental well-being that really becomes important. That if a person can have good mental health, then they're probably just integrated well into society in whatever fashion. So I think if we can reduce that feeling of isolation, and in this context for immigrants and refugees, then I think we're going a long way towards that healthiness of the community. And again, if people are not feeling isolated and are participating and accessing services, then that's just adding to a richer society too, because they're in turn having more interactions with people, and they're helping somebody else's health and well-being and mental health and things too. So I just see it as being that level of participation, broadly speaking.
Those are fantastic comments. Thank you. Anything final you'd like to offer for the students' benefit, or any advice to them?
Well, I think there's still new perspectives are, I think how we grow and how we remain strong and viable, and particularly in rural communities. There can be sometimes less exposure to new ideas and new opinions just because there's fewer people to be exposed to. So I think that programs such as this are really important because they are looking at the rural and how we can keep this way of life something that will continue into the future. And I think it does take planning and thinking and effort, because we've seen across Canada those very tiny communities. There are small communities that just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and then finally disappeared. And that would be a sad thing for Canada to lose rural communities, because I think there's a lot of strength and things to offer. And in my role in trying to support newcomer attraction and retention in communities, I think it's a really strong selling factor that we have to people who may or may not have come from a rural background in their countries, but they see how committed and caring people are. And once you become a part of the communities here, which sometimes can take a little extra work, but the effort is so worth that investment, because you can truly build a home in a small community and feel like you've found your place. So I think that there's a lot to offer here, and just new perspectives and ideas are always welcome in how to strengthen our areas.
Well, I want to thank you again on behalf of myself and the students and other people who might be watching this video. I know you're doing some fantastic work there in Huron County, so thanks very much. And that's with Kristin Crane with the Huron County Department of Economic Planning. I'm sorry, the Department of Economic Development. So thank you again, Kristin.
Thanks, Wayne.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.